Okay, so welcome. Tonight we are doing a class called Learning Pinterest. So we're just kind of overviewing what this is, how to use it. I'm Amanda Breskowitz. I'm a library assistant at Middleton Public Library. And again, if you have questions, you can put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself since we're a smaller group and ask a question that way as well. So I guess the big question is, what is Pinterest? Some people know what it is, some people don't. So it's a social networking website, and it allows you to organize and share ideas. So the biggest way, or most often thing that I say is, it's kind of like if you're looking at a magazine and you see a photo of a castle, and you're going to Europe and you want to go to that castle on your vacation. So you might rip out that page and stick it on your wall or put it in a planner or something for you to look at later so that you can put it in your vacation as a place you're going to stop at. So this is kind of similar in a virtual way. So Pinterest is allowing you to find something interesting on the web and then putting it on a board and organizing your thoughts that way. So just into different categories that you choose. I have found that I'm a much more visual person, and doing things with Pinterest, I can actually remember what I was looking at versus bookmarks in my browsers. I think it's really just the visual learning aspect that I have in myself. So that's why I like to teach this class and talk about it. Of course, since it is a social media product, there is good and bad about things like that. But I guess in the long run, I'm not really paying attention to all the people on Pinterest. I'm just paying attention to the pins. I use it for my own advantage. So some things that you can do with this, that some of these I have done in the past. There's a lot of teaching resources on here. A lot of teachers have definitely used this to get ideas for lessons, or especially craft activities for certain grades. It can help you plan a vacation. You can get wedding ideas. There's tons of recipes on here. You can plan just short little weekend getaways, family events. You can find crafts. You can kind of figure out what you want for like decorating your house for the holidays or something like that. There's even like workout stuff, like regiments to try, remodeling your home, cars. Sometimes there's like different things people have done to try and fix their car, or you can find different stuff for like summer gardening or landscaping, things like that. So lists can go on forever. So first, you do have to have an account. Pinterest does have their account free, and you sign up by either creating with your email a password and then signing up, or you could use a Facebook account and link those. And when you go through, I want to go back. So on your handout, I don't have it on the side here, but they're going to ask you to go through a few steps after you put your email in and create your password. They're going to ask your name, age, and gender, and that's really so they can tailor the pins to you so that everything they're recommending is what you actually want. They're also going to ask you if you want to choose some interests to follow. So you could say, I'm interested in photography, crafts, gardening, cooking, and that is going to be a part of what they curate for you. You can skip all of these steps. So in each step, I think down at the bottom, there's a little skip button. But if this is the main reason why you're using it, it's important to go through and select the categories you want. They do ask if you want to import any of your Facebook or Twitter friends. That's not really anything that I do or care about, but if that's something you want to do and see what other people are pinning, you can do that as well. And then the one biggest thing is after you have created the account, Pinterest sends an email to that email address that you used to sign up. And there you do need to confirm your email address. So you'd go back to your email and then hit the confirm button that's in the email. And then you can continue having fun. So the next question would be, what are pins? So really they're just visual bookmarks. So each pin that you see links to a website somewhere on the internet. So like the image below here has a bunch of different squares. Each of those squares is a pin. And as you scroll up and down, you can go back up to the top where you started or go back down. Every once in a while, if you go all the way up, it'll kind of refresh itself and it might add new pins. So it's always trying to find and give you more things. So sometimes if you had your eye on something, but you didn't actually pin it, if you accidentally refresh, it can go away. That has happened to me multiple times where I've tried to find it later and I had no idea what it really was. I just thought it looked interesting and then I lost it. But so beware just that sometimes when you go all the way back up to the top, again, it might refresh on you. And I have a screenshot over here on the right side. This is what it would look like if you're using a mobile device, so a tablet or a smartphone. It's fairly similar, but you know, you don't have as many across the different areas at the top of the website here are kind of condensed down and split between the top and the bottom of your phone. When you find a pin that you like, you save it to a board. So it's just the different categories that you have created. So you can create a recipe board and then any recipes you find you can put in there. So this is a screenshot of mine and there's all pins, or when I did the screenshot, it was in 2020. So this was before the pandemic. I had 2020 goals and then I had various ones as you continue to scroll down. So when you go to that page, this is what it would look like for your boards. It's going to be in alphabetical order. And then here's the screenshot of what it looks like when you're on a mobile device. Again, looks a little different. To get to some of the items that are up here in the corners, you would click on this gear button to get to all that. But you can kind of get as specific of a board as you want. I know when I started out with Pinterest, which I can't even remember when that was. It was probably like 2012 or 2013. And I started out with a recipe board that I just called Food Dreams. And then it's gotten so big that I now need to kind of divide it up in between like desserts, drinks, you know, main dishes kind of thing. So you can do whatever it is you want in that. So when we do find a pin you like, there is, when you hover over the pin, this little guy here pops up where there's an arrow down. Sometimes it might guess a board if you already have some created, or you would select the board and then you would hit the save button. You can also click on the actual image in the middle to enlarge in the picture. So then it would look like this. And it's going, half the page is going to be the picture. And then there's going to be whatever description carried with it. And there's some important pieces on here. And I do think that this is important, especially if you are looking for specific information that you might need a more authoritative resource for. There is always at the top here the web address that it comes from. And I'm kind of thinking there's a lot of like home remedy stuff for health on Pinterest. And some of that you do want to watch out and be careful, because you do want to make sure that what you're looking at or trying to attempt is safe. So I would always recommend that you look at the website that it comes from, use a little information literacy here, and make sure that it is a place that sounds reputable. This here is just a crafting thing, so it says it came from Etsy. So this is probably something that someone is selling. And if I click in the middle here where there's a little arrow and it says etsy.com, if I click there, it's going to take me to the original link where this came from. So that is the other good thing about Pinterest, is that if you want to find out more, you can click on the image and you can get to the original source. And like I said, it sometimes will guess what board you want. So here it filled in camping for me. Maybe that is wrong, because maybe I'd want to put it in crafting. So I would click on there and select crafts instead, and then hit the save button. And then over here to the left of that is our share button too. You can always send it to a friend via email, or if you're on a mobile device, you can send it in a text. So there's different ways that you can share what you find as well. To go back to your main page where you're searching for pins, when you kind of enlarge in the picture, you would click anywhere outside the gray X. Usually there's a X, or the gray area. So I think I cut it off here, but it's actually grayed out. So it would be somewhere down here, or sometimes there's an X in the corner. And that's how you can go back. Or you can hit the back button if you're on just the website. And then there's usually a back arrow on the mobile version. I know this is going to make a lot more sense when I show it to you instead of looking at the PowerPoint. The navigation, so we've already covered a little bit of that. Just gotta double check chat. Okay. And I want to double check that there's no one waiting. Okay. So at all times, your search bar is always at the top. So this is where you can decide where you want to look for. Whenever you want to get to your profile, you would click on the either when you start, it'll be empty. So it'll be just like a picture of a face probably, or it'll be grayed out. And you can add a photo. This is a photo that I put in there a really long time ago. It's just a little emoji type photo of myself that I created. So you click on the circle up in the right corner to see your profile. And it tells you some stats, like you have I have 125 followers and I'm following 163 people. Like I said, I don't make it a huge priority to use this as a social media tool. So the reason why it says I'm following people is because I've pinned enough pins from that person that Pinterest just decides that I'm following them because I like their stuff. There's only a few people that I've actually like physically clicked my follow button for. So, but do that to your own discretion, however you want to do it. If you ever want to edit your profile, there is anywhere you find a pencil is going to be a place where you can edit things. So if I would click on that, I could move boards around. So I don't have to have them alphabetical if I don't want. And I can also delete boards that way too. Like I said, in the mobile app, again, you just find your photo. So they have it down at the bottom. You would click on that, and then this is what would pop up. You hit the gear icon, and it pops up the settings for all of those things that was on the previous page. So editing your profile, if you want to switch to a different account. Sometimes that would happen, like if you had a business, you can make another account linked to this. So you could switch in and out of your personal to your business account. Like here's the add another business account right there. When you do edit your profile, this is what it would look like with what you can edit. So you can change your name in there. You can change your username or anything that you fill out for location or about you. The account settings, you can change the email that you're using. And you can also choose login options. So like I said, you can sign in with Facebook. You can also sign in with a Google account if you want to do that as well. So that's where you could find that. Okay, so when you first open Pinterest, I know I was talking about this before, but your home feed pops up. This is just stuff that's recommended to you. This also will include stuff you've already pinned. So as you scroll through, you might see stuff that was pinned by you. And you always have at the top your search bar. There's also another button here next to home, which is today. So that would be things that are popular today, and it would include anyone on Pinterest. It's not specifically anyone that you're following, because the next button to that is following. So if you follow all of your sisters on Pinterest, anything that they pin, you can look at and just narrow it down to just that. So you don't look at everything. I think sometimes that can be helpful because a lot of people may not always like scrolling for very long. It is a lot of information when you sit and scroll for a long time. So I think it's always good to use that today button and the following button. This is what your search looks like when you would go to the search bar mobilely, and it kind of gives you your ideas. When you go back to home here, it'll have two buttons for today and following as well. So like I said, you can click on the search bar or anywhere you find a magnifying glass. And you can also click on any other topic heading that you see. So if there's topic headings here on the mobile photo, so that would be a search. The same thing happens when you click into the search bar when you're on the website. It will kind of give you a start on some popular topics. So sometimes you don't even need to type in anything. Another thing that is kind of popular is on the mobile devices, there is a thing called visual search. So this is an option that is built into the search bar. So if you notice up at the top, there's a little camera in the right corner there. So if you click on that, it's going to ask to have access to your camera. And then you can take a picture of what's in front of you. Say you want to find, I just did this because this is obviously what is around me when I'm at work. I took a picture of my mouse. And then once I took my picture, it then gave me a bunch of other mice I can look at and link up. So I think those are ones that people are selling somewhere or something. So it can't always recognize everything, but it is pretty good. One thing that it kind of falls short on is if you take a picture of something like a water bottle or a glass, it really can't differentiate between what a water bottle is and what a glass is for like a glass of water. So it kind of gives you a wider array of things that probably have to do with like some type of item that you would drink out of, but it's not going to be exact. It's something fun. They don't have it on the website version. It's just on the smartphone mobile version. I don't know a lot of people that do use that, but it's fun. One thing that I like about Pinterest is that you can make secret boards. So sometimes there's things that you don't want your friends seeing if you know people who are on Pinterest and who look at the things that you do. And I just got a question. Can we use visual search in the web version? You cannot. So it's only going to be in the smartphone app of Pinterest. It's not going to be in the web version. You have to have access to a camera, and I think it's because of different privacy reasons, it's easier for Pinterest to allow that on a phone versus a computer. So
is there some way to search for, let's say you see something very cool on Home Depot's website. Can you take that image, save that image, and then search Pinterest to find that image?
well, you should be able to find that just by typing like whatever the title is that Home Depot would have for that. If you know like the brand and or any other, like collection or series that it might be in. Say it was like a piece of patio furniture, often there'll be a brand name and then there'll be like a collection name. So if you type those two things in with Home Depot into the search box, it'll usually pull things up. A lot of those big name companies, Home Depot, Walmart, Target, Menards, they all have Pinterest and they put a lot of their products on Pinterest so that they have direct links to their websites. So you should be able to find a lot of things that way without having to do the visual search. But again, the visual search is just on the phones.
So there's no way to take a picture that I have taken and search for similar images in Pinterest?
Not on the web version.
Okay.
You'd have to type in something. You can, however, create a pin with your picture, but that's another thing. So you can make your own pin and insert your own stuff onto Pinterest.
But it can't search for similar stuff.
Not in that format. It's for the web version, just for the phones.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So getting back to the secret boards. So when you want to do a board, and I'll show you how to create a board here, but this is what it would look like. And then there is a little button for secret. Do you want it to be secret? So you click on it to hit yes, or keep it off and it's no. So this is where you're the only person who can see it. unless you invite someone to it. So anybody that follows you in any way doesn't see anything. And I know, like, when I first was getting ready to have my child, I didn't want my friends to know until a certain point. And I was using Pinterest a lot to try and get ideas of what I wanted to do, in the nursery, or what kind of stuff to buy and things like that. So I kept that secret, and it's really helpful. You don't always want people to know what you're doing. I mean, like I said, I'm not one to use the social aspect of this, so I often will do a secret board. So it's really just me. You can also create group boards. This has been really helpful in planning like family vacations for me. I'm originally from Minnesota, and most of my family still lives in Minnesota. So when we get together, it's a bigger time. We spend quite a few days together. If we do things like cabins or camping, we can create a board for all of our camping food, and then we can kind of plan that way, so we know like who's bringing what and what recipe or stuff like that. So it can be fun that way. So when you make a board, you can, in the editing, and so remember, anywhere there's a pencil, you can edit. So you can add collaborators. So that's always down at the bottom of each board here. So you can type in their Pinterest username or just their email. If they don't have Pinterest, the email is just going to invite them to join, and it'll have a link to have them create an account. And then you can invite. Oh, and the other thing, I think you can, in those group boards, it also means that other people can add to the board. So if it's something like you're just showing someone a board, it's always good to remind them not to add to the board. I've had that happen a few times. Some other things to keep in mind, when you see a pin that you want to move, position your mouse or your cursor over the image until the buttons appear at the top of the image. Because like I said, they do just appear when you don't have your cursor over them. And there is sometimes a ... button. So on this first picture here, down in the corner, there's ... So you can click on that to edit anything as well if you don't see an edit button. And then when you are editing a board or a pin, you can click on that drop-down list and select where it is you want it to go. So if you had something that was in the wrong spot, say it was actually a crafting item, but it ended up in your recipes board, you would click on the edit button for the pin, and then you would change it to recipes. And then remember to click save. You can also just delete it entirely. There's the delete button in the opposite corner of save. It is important when you have something like a social network to report inappropriate pins. So there is a way when you click on the pin, you want to click on the ... menu, and there's a report pin button that you can press. And then it's going to ask why you're reporting it. So you'd want to pick the appropriate response. So there could be like spam, or this is, sometimes I've heard of this happening, this is my intellectual property. This happens a lot with places like Etsy, so where crafters are selling their items and someone else has copied their items, and then they're trying to get the other person's stuff off of Pinterest. So that could be that as well. Or it goes against Pinterest policies. So it's, something that's just super inappropriate. I would say for Pinterest especially, if it's not appropriate for a child to see who's like 12, it's probably not appropriate for Pinterest, just because, there's people of all ages who use Pinterest. So just keep that in mind when you're going through. I do feel like for using something that's social like this, it's kind of a responsible thing for you to do. Like I said, you can follow friends. So in the people area of your following stats, this is where you can follow people. Here you can also follow companies or organizations. So like I said, Home Depot is on here. Other ones are also on here. And you can either click on it and it says you're following, or then click on it again and it'll say follow again. If it says follow, that means you're not following it. If that makes sense. There's lots of other resources that you can go to for help with this. The biggest one is Pinterest has their own help center. So if you're having weird issues with your account or can't figure something out, this is the website for that. And this is all at the end of the handout. I put the handout in the chat again here in a second, just for any of those that have joined late. And there's also Goodwill Community Foundation. They have a huge section that has some great help tips for lots of technology and software. And then there's also this how-to Pinterest site. If you're more of a physical visual learner, we do have books on Pinterest in our library system. So we can always put one on hold for you and you can check one out. So I'm going to stop share for a second and then we're going to go into seeing this live. So let's see. There we go. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen. And this is, if you notice up at the top, it is highlighted the home section. So this is my home feed. This is a combination of things that it's recommending for me based on what I've selected as my interests or things that I've recently pinned. And then it sometimes does throw in random ones in there just to see if that's something that you would like. So you're going to notice on mine here, there's going to be a lot of home things, gardening. I'm the matron of honor for my younger sister's wedding, so I'm helping her with that. And so there's a lot of wedding things that pop up here right now. And book things. I feel like that comes with being a librarian as well. And like I said, and kid things. So as you scroll through, you'll see the different items. If I hover over any of the pins, I get buttons that pop up that will disappear when I don't have my cursor on them. It's also recommending to me boards in the board section. And it's also at the bottom giving me the website that it's coming from. So I could click on that button right away to just go directly to it. I can click on the share button here, or I could click on the menu button for editing and other things. So I think I'm gonna go back up. Let's do this home outdoor thing. So if I click on it, this is where it blows up, and it is half my page is the picture. So it's nice to see things a little closer up. And then you have the summary over here. You have the link that it comes from. And this is the last person that pinned it. So you can always have the choice to follow them if you seem to like the thing they pin. It just gives you more things to look at. But if I wanted to pin this, I could then pin. It's going to give me some of my top choices and then go down the list. So I can just keep going through my list. So because this is an outdoor thing that kind of has to do with gardening, I don't have something specific like patio or decks or landscaping. I just call it gardening. So I'll just save it into gardening. So now it should show up here in the right corner, saved to gardening. If I want to change that, I can hit the edit button. And again, if I were to click on this image, I'm not going to right now because it's a lot of jumping around. It's going to open up another tab in my browser with that website. So you're always able to get back and forth. When I'm on the website here, you notice there is a back arrow on the left corner. I could click on that to go back. I can also just click anywhere outside. So I just clicked outside of it. But if I want to, I could click on the arrow too, and it goes back to the same place. If I wanted to search for something, the moment I click into the search bar, like I said, there's going to be some ideas or things that have been popular to search for. And as I type something, it's also going to give me a whole list of things. So maybe I'm looking for like chicken recipes. Now it gives me some options. Do you just want chicken recipes or chicken breast recipes, chicken salad? So maybe I want chicken breast recipes. So for some reason, popped me into the shop section. That's a section I do not go into. So if that's something you want to explore, go ahead. But I usually do not use Pinterest as my main way of buying things. I would stay in the explore section. So this is where the recipes for chicken breast is. So I could do, this one's from Pioneer Woman. As I scroll through, I can see anytime it says promoted by, that does mean that's an ad. I would try to stay away from those if you can, unless it's something that you actually like truly like and you want to look at it. But sometimes when you're clicking on those ads, it's going to give Pinterest more data on what kind of ads to give you. You can try and kind of go through all of your privacy settings within your Pinterest settings. So that would be here. So that you can go through and try and limit things as much as possible. But do remember, since this is a free social network, that there are certain things that you are saying okay to just by making an account, which would be like collecting some data, like on what things you're pinning. It's not going to be saving like your name or information that is so personal that they know exactly who you are, but that is a part of social media. So it is important to keep that in mind. But if I wanted like maybe this creamy balsamic chicken, to get something such as recipes, sometimes on the side here, there might be extra notes that give you the recipe, but most times you do have to click to the website to get the recipe. So this is, I'm gonna see if this keeps my sharing. Okay, so it goes to a blog where this looks like it's a blog about food. And often in these blogs, yeah, the recipe is going to be down to the bottom. So here's the instructions, step by step. They have some pictures. And then here's the recipe. So often what I'll do is I'll scroll down to this and I'll just take a screenshot of it so that I don't have to go back later. But often I will just put a lot of things into my board and just kind of peruse it later when I'm trying to find something. So when I want to go back, I can just close out this tab and it should just go back to the other one. I can go back to my main search as well. So that's kind of an example of doing recipes. I'm going to go back home. If you notice at the top, there was a little button that was twirling around. It was just refreshing. So now I have the newest pins up at the top. And I could hit the today button to see what the top picks for today have been. And I can get into different categories. Over here on the right corner, there are notifications. If you are following people, this is where you might see that someone followed this organization or somebody saved your pin. You can turn all those notifications off if you want in your settings. There's also a messaging system. So this basically I've only used between like my sisters. For example, my sister sent me this picture of this wedding dress that she thought was interesting. We have a date set to go try on dresses later in the summer. So she was just showing me her ideas. So it was a nice, easy way that she could send something to me quickly when she was already using Pinterest. She could also just text me it as well, but it's just a nice, fast way to do that. If I go click on my name, you can see, so again, I've used this for quite a few years. I have a lot of boards. A lot of them are secret boards, just so that people don't see. And then I also have some boards in here that people have shared me in on. So if I go, like, here, I'll click on camping. This is my list for camping. So it's just some fun stuff, ideas for camping, products for camping that I thought were fun. Doesn't mean I'm going to buy them, but just sometimes it's nice to sit and think about the trip that you're going to take. You know, what might you want to do? What looks interesting? I did get some good tips for things like fire starters, like how to make fire starters for cheap with stuff you have at home. You know, how to organize food when you're packing for camping, things like that. So you can find useful stuff. I do go through my board sometimes and delete a lot of things as well. So that is something that you can do when you click on the menu buttons. So the three dot menu, there's the edit board. So when I do this, you know, I can change certain things about the board, like the name, the cover, whether or not it's secret, or who can join it. But if I want to take actual pins off the board, I have to do that on each pin. So there's pencil here, and I could say delete pin. Or if it's in the wrong board, this is where I would choose a different board and save it. So I can just delete that one. That one is okay. Then it deletes. if you are searching for people on here, it's really going to be fairly easy. If you're looking for people you follow, so like this is my younger sister. So I just started typing her name. Since I follow her, I was able to get there, and I can get to her boards that she doesn't keep secret. So that's one way that you can use the search as well. Sometimes when you do searches, you can get video pins as well. That's kind of a newer thing. This happens a lot with crafting. So here's this one over here on the top. This person is painting a wave in the ocean. So you can see how they go about it. Some videos are like that, where they might show you the steps of something so that you can replicate it without having to click anywhere else. It's kind of nice with those two. I've definitely used this for paint ideas. I like doing a lot of painting, and sometimes I even do it with my husband. So if you've ever heard of like those paint night events where you can like go with your friends and have an instructor teach you how to paint like a simple picture, like it could be like this daisy picture here, or a sunset landscape or something. And so my husband and I tried to find one on Pinterest that we thought was interesting, and then we took that video and tried to do it ourselves as like an at-home date that we tried during the pandemic here. So that was kind of a fun thing. It was a nice way we used Pinterest to get an idea to do something. And the video came in handy. So we didn't have an actual person in front of us. Go back home. Trying to think if there's any. Oh, I want to show you how to send an item. So let's do this gardening one. So maybe you're just looking for an idea of what kind of plants you might want to plant, different shapes for edging, and you want to share it with somebody. So you'd click on the share button. And here there are some people that I follow that I could just hit the send button and send it to. I could also type in an email. And then you can say invite. And then do you want to add a message? You don't have to, and then send. So then it sent it to that person. You can also copy a link. So that will come in handy, like if you wanted to text it to somebody, you could just paste it in. Or you can hit this email button and it'll bring up whatever local email you have on your computer.
So when you type your email address to someone, they don't get it directly. They have to join Pinterest to use it.
Well, they get an email from Pinterest saying this person has invited you to look at this. Then I think it shows a preview of it, but then also says join, and then has like a link for them to make an account if they want.
So you can't just send something to someone without Pinterest intervening.
Well, no, it'll have the preview in that
Okay.
email. So you should be able to still have it in that email. And the same thing with if you are copying the link and putting it into a text, it will show the image in the text.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Pinterest usually lets people see a few, like if you don't have Pinterest and you go and click on a link and open up the website, because you can do this if you do like a Google search and a Pinterest search comes up. It's going to show you the first few, but then if you try to go further, that's when it's going to ask you to sign up. So it acts a little bit like a pay screen that some newspapers have on their websites, where you can see so many articles before it blocks you, and then you would have to have an account to read more for the month or the week or something like that. So Pinterest kind of does that. When you do that, you can see a few items, but then if you want to try and see more, they just ask you to make an account. And that's just every time you visit the website. So they don't have a so many times per day kind of thing. Oh, I want to go back to that. So when you are looking at a pin, if you keep scrolling down, they have items that's more like this. So if you weren't having good luck in your search, but you actually have better luck looking at their more section in a pin, that's fine. I've found stuff that way too. Looks like that's a pretty good way to look for gardening stuff too. Some of this looks really nice. So you can always scroll down and look to see more. I did mention earlier that you can make your own pins. So there is this, wherever you are on the bottom right corner, there is a plus sign. And there is the option. You can get a browser button to save ideas all over the internet that way, but otherwise you can make your own original pin as well. And when you create a pin, you would drag and drop or click to upload a photo. So if you, like I said, if you have a business account and you want to upload a photo of an item in one of your shops online, you can put the photo in here, you can add the title, you can add the destination link where people would go to, or save it directly from the site. And then you can also put a description in. And then once you pin it, it goes out to all of the people that are following you. It also would go just out there. If you don't have things set to private in your settings, then just anybody would be able to find it in a search. So that has come in handy, I think, for a lot of people who are trying to work on their own business and using Pinterest as a way to advertise. And there are a lot of people that are successful in that, specifically like artisans and crafters, I think. Let's see. Did I cover everything? Is there any questions anyone has of when we're sitting here live with this? I'm going to put the handout back in the chat again for anybody that missed it in the handout. But you're welcome to say something if you have anything.
Yes, may I ask a question?
Sure.
If I want to enlarge something, is it possible to do that in Pinterest? For instance, I like to copy recipes, but make them larger so I can see them and I print them off, but they're so small. And I also do music. And when I copy it, it's like a fourth of a 8.5 by 11 paper. Is it possible to enlarge them through Pinterest?
I don't think through Pinterest is how you would do that. It would have to be in your printer settings, probably.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Say Pinterest is, I think, more in the realm of keeping you on the app and
Okay.
on your device, so they don't have a whole lot of features with printing. So it's how you're going to be able to do that is probably going to be through the printer settings, where you would
Okay.
enlarge in it whatever percentage. But again, that depends on the printer as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. If you had something that you wanted to like get printed out at the library, so even though the building is still closed for patrons to be inside the building, we're still doing printing. So you can email us anything that you want to have printed and then just pick it up at curbside.
Oh,
So if you had a website image or a PDF image, you could email us. Then we can try and enlarge it on our scanner copier as well. So that's always an option you could try.
okay.
Let's see. I think I was going to. Well, here's how you can get to the help section. Or if you feel like your home feed is just out of whack and it's got all these things that you don't like, you can click the tune your home feed and then you can select your interests again to see if it can kind of recalibrate everything. So that's always something you could try as well with that. Looks like this comes from Bob Vila. I didn't know Bob Vila was still doing things. Whenever I think of Bob Vila, I think of Home Improvement from the 90s. Which is probably not what he wants, but yeah, anyone have any other questions? So there's not a whole lot more. Like I said, I don't usually venture into the buying section of Pinterest. That is a whole nother animal. So in your settings, there's different things like where you can attach credit cards and things like that. And since I don't look at that, and I don't really feel like I wouldn't recommend anybody do that. So that's not something that I have in this class. But if that is something that you're interested in, more of those help resources that I have on the handout might have answers to that, especially the help page for Pinterest, if that's something that you're interested in. All right, well, I think that is about it. If you have any other questions after the class, you can always email me. And I think, did I have that on the handout? Let me look. Yes, I do have my email at the bottom of your handout, so you can always contact me if you have questions after that. But otherwise, enjoy using Pinterest. I find it very helpful. Also beware though, you can get sucked into endless scrolling. I think it's best to just give yourself like, I'm gonna be on here for 15 minutes and try and find things. It's just like any social media. I think it's good in small amounts, bad in large amounts. But enjoy the rest of your evening and have a happy spring.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you. Thanks,
welcome.
Amanda.
Thank you, Amanda.
You're welcome.